Good morning. It's an exciting opportunity to welcome you to the state of the county. I, like many of you, watched with great anticipation the mayor's race last spring. What I know is that the relationship between the superintendent and the mayor is extremely important for our 45,000 students in Hamilton County. But more importantly, it is vital for this community to move forward. What I learned is that Mayor Wamp and I actually have quite a bit in common. We are dads first and foremost, but not only that, but we're dads to kids that go to Hamilton County schools. It's very obvious also that we both outkicked our coverage in marrying Shelby and Casey. I heard Mayor Wamp speak at length on the campaign trail about the importance of workforce development. And not only the importance of workforce development, but the role that CTE plays and the importance of putting pre-apprenticeship opportunities in front of students in Hamilton County schools. He, like I, also dedicated to improving our aging school facilities in Hamilton County and want to be intentional about doing that by putting an 8-year plan in place that ensures that every student in Hamilton County schools goes to a quality facility. Learned this as well, that we were both very average high school basketball players. Most of all, both of us are passionate about this community. We're from Chattanooga. We're committed to seeing Chattanooga become a better place, not just for those that it has always served, but for each and every member of this Hamilton County community. What I've been so encouraged in this first 211 days of Mayor Wamp's time in office is that he has consistently followed through with campaign promises. And it's without a doubt that I think he will continue to be aggressive as he fulfills those promises in the next 3 years ahead. It is, again, it's a great honor for me to introduce this morning the mayor of Hamilton County, Weston Wamp. You like the basketball players?
All right. Thank you, Dr. Robertson. I'll tell you on the front end, there are upsides and downsides to us having chose this unique venue. One is that when you're in a TV studio, the audio, as it will present on YouTube, is going to be great. It is it's analog and old school for those of you who are in person, so bear with me. It's not a short speech, and so by the end of it, those in the back may not hear me as well as those of you in the front. First, let me express my gratitude 7 months in to the people of this county for giving me this opportunity. To wake up every day and serve the county is equally humbling and exhilarating. I talked a lot early on about how Shelby and I were really stopped in our tracks in our earliest weeks in office by the way that county employees specifically, and the other constitutional officers and folks we'd come in office with, treated us with dignity and respect, and it meant the world to us. As the first county mayor to enter office from outside of county government, I owe a lot of thanks to a lot of people, starting with my staff and our fearless chief of staff, Claire McVeigh. The department heads of county government, many of whom are here and who have tolerated my relentless questions as a county government outsider trying to catch up as fast as I possibly can. And certainly to the finance team, because Lee Browner and Vonda Patrick are in many ways the people who are the glue, who make the operation work well. And Lee especially has decades of service to the county. And in order to facilitate this speech on March 31st and a budget outline that we're sharing with commissioners, they had to get about 6 weeks ahead of what has always been the timeline for the budget. I want to thank the County Commission. We got off to a little bit of a rocky start, but most of you have been very earnest in wanting to work with us. Chairman Baker, for your counsel and transparency, counsel both in politics and even in parenting. A lot of times I'll call Chairman Baker about an issue related to the county, and it will end up being him reminiscing on having little children like Shelby and I do, to Commissioner Ken Smith, who's the finance chair and has helped us begin the budget season in this process earlier, but has been a great partner and a proven public servant in our community. To the constitutional officers, many of you are right here. Thank you for being here, taking an interest in what we're doing, and for your respect of me and my team. Grateful that two members of the legislature, after a hard week, have joined us. Representative Yusuf Hakeem, thank you for being here, sir. And then the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, the esteemed Chairman Bo Watson, thank you for joining us, sir. At the end of the day, county government is just an extension of state government. And so what we do, we have the authority to do under state law. I want to talk a little bit to start about the history of our county. County was started in 1819, but long before this county was formally created by the state legislature, the great Indian warpath came through Lookout Valley, around the tip of Lookout Mountain, on into Virginia, all the way up to New York. Some called it the Great Indian Trading Path. Before settlers who came down from Ray County into Sale Creek, before they ever crossed the Tennessee River into Native American country after the forced removal of the Cherokee, this was already a place of life and trade and logistics. We have been a logistics hub, literally, since the Cherokee called this home. That's because of the Tennessee River. Later, it became a result of the state of Georgia connecting rail here. The first time the Atlantic connected to the Mississippi was through Chattanooga, Tennessee. The interstate system gave us what is now a traffic nightmare on any given day, but it brought more freight through this town than any town in America, where 3 interstates intersect. I thought, for that reason, it'd be fitting to have the first state of the county at FreightWaves. At our very best, we're a county that paves the way for generations to come. I think in a lot of ways our highest hope for the future of our county would be that we're a place, and I know this is what Dr. Robertson and I share, we're a place where we would raise up young people to have success and find prosperity so that their young people and their young people stay here and prosper here. It's that type of generational planning that led Adolph Ox to give us the land that's now Point Park. Will Cummings took a risk to build the Market Street Bridge. I would submit to you that in modern Hamilton County, no family embodies that legacy of paying it forward generation to generation better than the Fuller family. Clyde Fuller started Southwest Motor Freight before there were large trucking companies. His son, Max Fuller, started U.S. Express. Max's son, Craig, started FreightWaves. Another one of his sons continues on as the CEO of U.S. Express. His other son is the CEO of another great company, Transcard, that's based here. In so many ways, it is fitting that the grandson of a freight pioneer and the son of a freight innovator runs a company in FreightWaves that provides the most advanced data and analytics in the history of the logistics industry worldwide. And when we think about the future of our county, companies like this one, our ability to develop our economy, is going to reflect the quality of our workforce, and our workforce is public education. So for the sake of reporting to you on the state of our county, I've got 5 areas of focus. The first is on our economy, which I implore you to think of as our people. The economy of the future is what we are investing into our young people today. The types of jobs, the types of companies that will do business here will reflect the skills that we impart on our young people. And so we've insisted in our early months in office, and will continue to think of economic development. Not just economic development and workforce development being connected, but economic development and education are completely connected. We've changed the posture of county government as we engage in economic development negotiations. Corey Guerin has become the county's lead negotiator and economic development leader. We've basically told companies, we want you to do business here, but if you're going to do business here and you want taxpayers to partner with you, then you need to partner with us in educating and investing in our future. Like many members of the County Commission, I came into office wanting to see our school facilities modernized in a way that would give parents confidence and teachers and students a better environment in which to teach and learn. Working with Dr. Robertson, one of the first things we did is convene a working group that includes Commissioner Lee Helton, who comes from the construction industry, my former colleague in the private sector, Tiffany Robinson, the chairwoman of the school board, who also is a developer. And we have met every couple weeks since I came into office, at times with intense detail, looking at the challenges and the opportunities moving forward. Our intention is that by the midpoint of the year that we come forward with recommendations, priorities in terms of where we invest first, knowledge for the community in terms of what the financing changes that could be made, what the levers that we can pull are, what we can do in order to fund a modernizing of school facilities for a generation to come. And that group also is going to come forward with recommendations that reference our need to meet the workforce needs of tomorrow as we construct new schools. This year, many of you on social media may have seen that I have had lunch in a school every Tuesday. That's an inspiring thing to do. You learn a lot about our very diverse community in a school lunchroom. And while school facilities matter, if you spend time in our schools, you learn very quickly that principals and teachers matter a lot more. My friend Governor Lee has made historic investments in public education. One of his areas of focus has been in career and technical education. The changing funding formula in as it'll affect local school systems will provide $5,000 in additional funding for students in high school who are on a career and technical pathway. Again, there's some unknown in how a big change in the funding formula like this will work. And so we've talked to Dr. Robertson and others in the school system about partnering in the early days to create a fund out of county general government to invest in career and technical teachers who want to transition from the private sector. As Charles Ritchie, who's here, is a great example of this at Eastridge High School. Person who went to Eastridge High School, worked in Eastridge government, coaches wrestling now at Eastridge, and came over to teach in their construction school. We need more people in our community to think about that career change. And so we're proposing the creation of a $750,000 fund, which will fund $7,000 signing bonuses and would cover the cost of transitioning from the private sector into education, including the licensing, which is often onerous, the licensing necessary to teach in our school system. In the months ahead, we'll also bring further proposals that will ensure that vocational education options exist for students in all parts of the county. As we seek to build new schools, I hope that the school board, many members of the school board are here, and we're honored that you're with us, will heed what parents have been telling us for a long time. And that is that they have confidence in our magnet schools. And as a result, we know this because the wait list on our magnet schools is hundreds long. And I think one of the most ambitious goals that we could set for the future of our county, much like the governor set the goal to end the wait lists that existed in the technical colleges across Tennessee, is that we would seek in the years ahead to end the wait lists at our magnet schools. Speaking of parents, it brings me to my second area of focus. And that is investing in families, communities, and parks. Call me old school, but I still believe that the family is the foundation of society. Starting in the fall, I'll be convening a parent council with representatives from schools all across the county. And the goal is simply to listen, to better understand the challenges that families are facing. In the same way that we are focused on developing the workforce of tomorrow, we need to be committed to developing the leaders of tomorrow, the civic leaders of tomorrow. For months, Commissioner Greg Beck and I have been working to launch a program aimed at doing just that and investing in rising civic leaders in Chattanooga's Black community. And Commissioner Beck and I will be announcing that initiative very soon. In hopes that we give for a generation to come more opportunities and places for families to gather, we're proposing major investments in our parks. The first part of the park at McDonald Farm should be ready in the fall when we host the county fair at this incredible piece of property that now belongs to the 380,000 people who live here in Hamilton County. The county fair won't be the county fair you remember at Chester Frost. It'll be a celebration of everything that's good about our county. We want that homestead, which if you've not visited, I can't wait for you to see, to be returned to its glory when the McDonald family gathered there. And now we hope that families from across the county will be able to enjoy that historic part of our county. We're also upgrading and proposing further upgrades at Chester Frost Park that will create more opportunities for local families to spend days and nights there, even if you don't have a fifth wheel. We've already launched new ramps, new docks are on their way, and we're planning to introduce children from all walks of life to the sport of fishing. And we're launching a new urban outreach program so that students from our school system all across the county have an opportunity to come and see the lands that the county takes great care of. Our community parks are often not very well known, particularly in the city, but we operate community parks where a lot of youth associations play soccer and football, baseball, and they do an incredible job taking care of our parks. Gino Shipley, from the day he got elected to the county commission, began spending incredible amounts of his time understanding the needs of these youth associations. And part of what we realized is that we weren't consistent in the way we funded utilities. And it was leading to rising registration costs. And so in the new budget, we're going to propose covering all the utility fees in a way that should keep our registration fees at county community parks in line with what the city of Chattanooga can offer. It's another way that we think we can support families. In government, it's not always the big things. Often it's the small things. Commissioner Eversole brought to me the opportunity to partner with the Collegedale Library, which should allow us to offer to folks who live in the unincorporated parts of the county a membership at the Collegedale Library. Similarly, we're going to propose matching the city of Chattanooga's funding for Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, which has relied on inconsistent private funding. And frankly, we ought to be matching what the city's doing. And that ensures that Hamilton County families will be able to participate in this wonderful Tennessee tradition. And lastly, we're going to propose funding, which we used to fund, to support children and their parents who've been victims. For reasons we don't fully understand, after COVID, calls into the local domestic violence hotlines have exploded. And we have a responsibility to support the most vulnerable members of our community. When we think of the most vulnerable members of our community, we often think about our students. We spend a lot of time in county government talking about our young people. But my third area of focus today is one that we often forget in government. And those are our senior citizens and our veterans. I believe the measure of a community is how well we serve our youngest and our oldest citizens. When I came into office, I partnered with the county commission to improve and build upon an already productive veteran service office. The investments we made have already led to about a 50% increase in productivity. But we want to go further, and we want to continue to invest in those who've made this community what it is. And we're going to propose the county's first senior center, giving new life to the historic Harrison Elementary School, which was built in the FDR era. Beautiful building, right in the heart of the county and in the heart of the historic Harrison community. We envision it being a hub of civic life There are 3 schools, an elementary school and a middle school and a high school right across the street. Right out back, county ball fields. Ruritan clubs across the street the other direction. We think it'll give the opportunity for the Veteran Service Office to get out of downtown, meet veterans where they are. Other organizations and other counties have rallied around senior centers like this one. And we're also looking at planning senior activities at McDonald Farm, in the Birchwood Community Center that the county owns, and other county facilities. I think that is one of the most honorable things we could do as we look to the future of the county, that we not just think about our young people, but that we provide opportunities for our young people to interact with seniors and veterans. And while inflation has made life harder for just about all of us in one way or another, it's been particularly hard on lower income senior citizens. And so after a lot of thought and math on the back end, we're proposing that the county fully matches the state's property tax relief program, which would double the support that we provide to nearly 4,500 low-income senior citizens and disabled veterans and their spouses. This property tax break would put more than $450 a year back in the pockets of disabled veterans and their spouses. While we have the opportunity, we ought to take it to honor the service and sacrifice of those who've served our country so well. My 4th area of focus today is a broad one, and it's public health and public safety. The place where those two converge most clearly in our community and surrounding communities is as it relates to the opioid epidemic. This is the single biggest challenge we face. Last year, nearly 200 people died because they overdosed on fentanyl or heroin or methamphetamines. And that's only part of the story, because Narcan's a miracle drug. We don't even have the perfect data, but over 1,500 people overdosed. The district attorney general, sheriff, judges, physicians at Erlanger, our health department, local nonprofits, our office have been partnering together to be first in line to apply for state grant funding to attack this epidemic head on from every direction. Prevention, getting into our schools, talking about fentanyl, family supports for those, like many of you, who've lost loved ones. We have a lot of really important work to do. And even though violent crime often leads in the headlines, the reality is, by orders of magnitude, this affects more lives all across our county. We've talked to the sheriff about partnering in the jail to treat those who have been addicted but are incarcerated. We're going to partner with local nonprofits to increase housing options for those who are rehabilitating, trying to get their life back on track. And we intend to add prosecutorial bandwidth to bring those who deal deadly drugs to justice. Sheriff Garrett has been an incredible partner in our first 7 months in office. He and I agreed early on a historic pay raise in the sheriff's office. It averaged out to about 16%. That's allowed us to recruit and retain those who keep us safe. But it also has allowed us to stabilize what had become a pretty dangerous situation at Silverdale. We've also approved double-digit pay raises to other law enforcement in the county, including in juvenile corrections and our park rangers. As we were all reminded again this week, school resource deputies and our school security officers who protect our schools may be the most important members of our community. It's essential that we continue to fund these heroes adequately to ensure that our students are protected while they learn. I want to speak for a moment about the men and women of Hamilton County EMS. No county employees inspire me daily like they do. They see our county's problems from a very unique vantage point. In the rain, in the snow, in the sleet, from Alton Park to Birchwood, everything from violent crime to overdoses to aging senior citizens in need, they're there to help. We're going to propose a major shift in EMS pay with a goal of hiring enough paramedics to get the county's 17th ambulance in service. which should, if we're successful, reduce response times all across the county. Lastly, I want to talk about our volunteer fire halls. For those of you who live in an unincorporated part of our county, or like I did, just grew up knowing volunteer firefighters, these are some of our finest citizens. And we've got a unique predicament on our hands where most of the growth in the county is in parts of the county serviced by volunteer fire. Their needs are significant, but they vary drastically across those volunteer departments. So we're going to propose an increase in their funding, and then we also are going to propose new equipment. We're going to sort all the details out as we continue to work closely with Gino Shipley and Jeff Eversole and Chairman Baker. But we want our friends in volunteer fire to know that we recognize that if this community is going to grow, and we need to grow, our volunteer fire departments are going to be a major part of that, which leads me to the fifth area of focus. And that's what it looks like for this county to grow for the future. Earlier this week, we announced Our Communities, Our Growth. It's the county's first comprehensive growth plan for the unincorporated parts of the county. Most, in fact, the majority of residential development ongoing in our county, and that we suspect is coming, is in the unincorporated parts. That's going to have impacts on public education. It's going to have impacts on the ambulance service and on volunteer fire halls and roads and sewers. And that's why we decided to tap friends of ours in the county commission who represent these very different parts of the county to enter into a transparent, community-focused planning process alongside the RPA. We're excited about it. But as we go into that, we want to go ahead and make some investments that we know we need to make. One of them is that Chairman Baker, who lives on Signal Mountain, often talks about the need for reflectors, and he's not wrong. County roads in many cases do need additional safety measures. And so we are building a reflector program for the first time into this budget. We also, after conversations with Commissioner Highlander and Commissioner Eversole, recognize that while the solutions may require state involvement, that many of the roads in the unincorporated parts of the county are now some of the highest trafficked roads in the county. And we're going to create an additional fund that provides for road safety measures on highly trafficked roads like Snow Hill Road, Ooltewah, Georgetown. We talked about, over the course of our first several months, the need to clean up our community. I mean, you drive through the unincorporated parts of the county, and it's true in the city where I live. It feels like coming out of COVID, people just started throwing more garbage out of their window. Now, I can't fix that. I can't force people to be good citizens, but we can clean it up. Our district attorney general and I partnered to keep people out of jail, keep families together, and clean up the roads. And in just a few months, we've already seen 2.5 times more trash pickup assignments. But we're looking for more creative ways to clean up our county, and our office is going to be leading some volunteer efforts. And we also are going to pursue the acquisition of the county's first trash vacuum truck, because there is no single subject that people contact my we'll be able to send the truck out to vacuum up the ditches. Later this year, we're going to be initiating long overdue maintenance investments in county-owned buildings. This will affect all sorts of people across our county. One of the places where we're going to make investments that were committed by the previous administration and we want to follow through with are at the Business Development Center just across the river, where generations of small businesses have gotten their start. I, in the early part of my career, ran a business incubator right down the street. And so this is something I'm very passionate about. We envision a future at that Business Development Center where organizations like the Chattanooga Business Elite, which is this incredible Black small business collective, and La Paz, the leader in our Latino community, and some of their leadership is here today, where they're partnering with the county and the chamber to give opportunities to citizens of all backgrounds, to give them the tools to start a company. I think there are going to be facilities opportunities that come out of Erlanger's ongoing transition, which we continue to steward alongside Erlanger's leadership. I think it'll lead to a new era at the health department and very possibly a new facility. And I mentioned my partnership with Sheriff Garrett. Just in the last couple of weeks, we've met multiple times about modernizing the sheriff's office facilities, which I think will be welcome To those of you who haven't seen some of their facilities out east, it's a fine law enforcement agency, and the facilities don't reflect the level at which they operate. But we also want to invest and partner with the Sheriff's Office to invest in and commit to their reentry program so that we're being mindful of every single opportunity to serve those who are incarcerated in ways that will support our economy and our workforce, but also prevent them from reentering. Now I'm going to close. I want to be candid for a moment about the state of the county. The state of county government is undeniably strong. We're Tennessee's original AAA bond-rated county, and we will continue to be. But the state of our county as a whole is more complex. On one end of the county, where we are, we're in Gig City. But in Birchwood, the other corner of the county, there's not a lot of high-speed internet. Vocational education is thriving as it has been for generations in Soddy Daisy, but it's not available to all students in the city of Chattanooga. The disparities are great. They're significant. If we're looking for them, we'll see them. I'll often talk about, while traffic would tell a different story, the growth in our county is only 2.2%. The national average is 2.1%. In that way, we're average. Our median income is almost exactly the national average. But we're not average. Quite the opposite. In fact, we're a community of extraordinary people. Full of extraordinary people. A lot of them are in this room today. But there are just as many people, and this is what we need to understand. There's just as many people who are hurting and they're being left behind. And that's why, net, big picture, we look average. And so together, our responsibility is to build a community that for generations to come is one where everyone, every person has a shot, where we look out for each other and our kids, where every student parent has choices. And as we develop that economy of the future, which really is just going to reflect what we give our kids today, that looks as passionate in every corner of the county as it does the other. So let's make that our mission. Thank you guys for joining me today.